Hey all, welcome back to Digital Portfolios. I'm Rob Dominic, MLTI Ambassador, and today we're going to be talking about using digital portfolios and finding resources and tools to create them. The past few topics we've kind of covered about digital portfolios, introduce you to them, why they're effective, and then we dug into some considerations for digital portfolios, so some things to think about ahead of time as you're planning for them, trying to have as much foresight as possible. And then today we're going to dig into tools and design elements, actually creating the digital portfolios and, things to think about, how you might design them, what elements you might include, what are some resources for them. That's what we're going to look at today. And hopefully, again, it inspires how you can customize it for yourself and make it your own in your own classroom and your own school. So we got a few resources here that are kind of the most popular ones that people like to use for it. There's a bunch on here, as you can see on the screen. We're going to dig in about three of them directly, exclusively, because they end up being the most popular ones. Doesn't mean the other ones aren't good. It's just kind of the more recommended ones, or the ones that are more common that people use, kind of show you how to use them, but also at least give a shout out and mention to some other ones that people think are valuable with making digital portfolios. So through here, we've got Book Creator, Google Slides, Edu Blogs, Google Sites, and Weebly. So again, website creating ones. Wakelet could be another one that's out there. And then you have Seesaw and Class Dojo. And then over here, I just wanted to throw it out there, even though we won't kind of go and dig into that too much itself because we're on the computer here. You have to be iPad based for it to work. But Notability is an iPad app that I've heard of. A couple schools that use that for their digital portfolio documentation. So I at least wanted to put that out there for you. So Book Creator here. These are all links. So you click Book Creator, it takes you to the Book Creator home. It's a pretty good resource overall, even for just regular creating books, of course. The free version will allow you one bookshelf, and I've got mine open here. Allows you one bookshelf for library, as they call it, and it allows it up to 40 books to be in that library for free before you hit that paywall. So depending on how many kids you have and how things are structured, you might be able to have that covered for everybody. A lot of good features on here, especially just with the free version. We'll kind of take you through that briefly. If you want a full in-depth dig into this, feel free to reach out. We can go through that. But I just want to give you an overview of why it's popular and what can be done in it. So you can be thinking if it fits for you or not. So I'm going to create a new book here. It gives you blank ones, or you have templates that you could work from, where it gives you fonts and backgrounds and pictures already in here. So you could use that if you wanted to. I'm going to start from scratch just so you can see all the features that we're going to talk about. Portrait, square, landscape are your options for it. Landscape, I would say, would be the most recommended, especially if it's staying on the computer and staying digital. I think landscape will show it the best. I guess you could do it in comic style. It depends. Comic style will give you, more of those jagged speech bubbles and those action bubbles, pow, bang, boom. Those types of pictures and stickers that you could use, and of course the grid layout that comic books would see. You get those options by doing it that way. But I'm going to dig into this one here instead, just for today. And then, kind of like any document, any picture creating document, you have the background options that you can choose from, solid colors, and you can make your own solid colors, recent options, or again, you could use the backgrounds for comics that they have. So you could use that. Now you don't have all the grids and all those layouts on here as a template, but it does give you some comic options. Paper, borders, you could have a border there, patterns, textures. You can throw in whatever you would like here, for your backgrounds. And again, it's a background, so you can't move it. It just stays there as you're going through. There's no option right here to be able to upload your own picture for the background though, but you can get pictures inserted on here. So we'll show you that in a second, and then you can make your own custom color here. So let's say, I've got my background that I want. This plus button, you can add whatever media that you would like, images, So if you want to search images and have them on here, you can insert them that way. There isn't a lot you can do with them. You can't like shadow them and crop them and all that, but you can resize them and angle them on here. So you could have that, or you could just search for an image on a Google search and drag it on to this, and it would load it as well, or download it and upload it again. Or you can use that built-in search option. Camera, you could use this, and if students have a camera on their device, you can take a picture or record their own video and have that pasted in here. That's a pretty cool feature. They can draw, right, with your different drawing types on here, or they can have an auto draw, which if you've seen that in Jamboard, where you could try to draw a picture and it will guess it, and you can use the image that it comes up with. But you can draw on here, and when you do that, it kind of treats it like an image. So you can move it around, you can delete it. If you double click on it, you can edit it again. Okay. Or you can just click to, there you go. Click to get rid of it. In the pen option as well, if you want, there's stickers, which they can get creative with, or whatever they want to put on there. But maybe you want a sports page, and they can use these stickers on here as part of their sports page. So those stickers could be handy on there. And then of course you've got text that you can put out here. You can edit that text a little bit on here, but you also have the option to edit it. Once you have it clicked on, you can edit on the eye and change the size and the color and the font and all of that, and the shadow, give it a little bit of depth, right? You can do all that on here as well. All right, resize everything. Now the other piece to this too, though, is if you wanted to layer it, like let's say you wanted to have this baseball be the O in portfolio, right? But right now the O is in front and it's kind of just looking off. When you right click on elements on here, any element that you have, you right click on it, it'll give you the option to move to the front, back, and even to lock it. And lock it means that it won't, you can't move it, you can't resize it or anything like that. So that's pretty handy in case things are moving you don't want them to. So let's say this portfolio word, I want this to move to the back because I want the O of it to be the baseball. So I can do that and make it look like it's part of it. Okay. All right. You can also record any audio you want. So if you want to have them talk about their portfolio in here, this is my portfolio piece. This is going to explain about me and my work throughout the year, and also talk about how I enjoy baseball. And it gets inserted as a little audio file. So when you go to play it, play button, you can click it and it will come up. Or you click read to me and it will read the words and then include the audio as well. Okay. Also, again, why this is useful is because when you have your shapes, your standard pieces to include if you want to, but it's also useful because this embed option, now you don't need the full embed code, but if you go to YouTube and just copy the link to any YouTube video and paste it in here, it will automatically put that video on your portfolio in your book here. So you don't need the full embed code, you just need the link. It makes it really easy, so students can put their own video on YouTube and then include it on here. You can also have integration with Google Drive, which could be helpful if they're using their files from there that they want to include on here. So then they can have that linked through there. So when people are going through this, they can have it linked outwards. They could have a table of contents. They could have a page. Here is this, that, and have all their links set up for all their different parts to it. Of course, you can add more pages. You can go on and on. Right, comes with those three. We click plus, you'll get more. Okay. Those are the basic features to it for the most part, enough to hopefully get you started. Now, when you get to back to the bookshelf, the My Library part, on the teacher account, this is a student account version that I have that look alike. Is a teacher account, you have options that allow you to have students see each other's books. So you could do it that way too if you wanted them to view each other's portfolios. Then down here, if they want to delete, this is where you could move or delete it, copy it. If you want to share it allows you to print or download the ebook file, which downloads it to a specific file. Now that can't be opened on a lot of programs. Like Kindle could probably open it, and someone else's book creator account could open it, but it's not going to be a common file that anything is going to be able to open no matter what. So that could be somewhat limited, especially if you want those other features like the audio and the links to come through and work. So that may not be as useful as just sharing this this bookshelf, having people look at it that way, or having a student talk, bring up their book on here, the portfolio this way, and have them talk about it, just at a teacher conference or something. All right, so Google Slides. I have an example linked on there that will take us over to here. So Google Slides, again, you're probably familiar with it, but you can customize it however you would like. You can have a template made and make students have a copy of this and kind of fill in their own stuff, their own parts. So table of contents, this all depends how you're pre-planning. Do you want it done by standard, every standard? Do you want it power standards? Do you want your overall arching topics? Do you want it per unit? However you decide to organize it. This is just a brief example. With a bunch on here, I would say it's too much, but I just kind of wanted to show how you could lay it out. So you've got your table of contents here, and each one is linked. So if I click on one, multiplying, dividing integers, it'll jump to that sections. It's got the learning target at the bottom. It's got a spot for them to include their own texts to type about it. This is just an image that was made probably on Google Drawings, and it asked them to replace it with a picture or file or video, whatever medium that they're using, and they can put that in here. This, this can be dragged off the side, and this piece here, this is just one of these shapes that are standard in here. So you can do that with it. And here, there's kind of a structure to each one, where multiplying, dividing integers right here. You've got 3 pieces where it's 3 artifacts that they could include, and then a spot for a video reflection about that target. And then the next piece, same deal. So again, in structure however you would want, though. This Google slide deck is 54 slides. I would say that's way too many, especially if I'm going to have them include pictures and video and audio. Doing all of that would make this document very, very media heavy, which would take a long time to load and would get weighed down. So I don't recommend having a large amount on there. I would say, you need to be more concise, or maybe you have them do one slide deck, and on that one slide deck, you have a table of contents, and instead of linking to someplace else in this same slide deck, it links to a separate slide deck that has that content in it. That way, that all these, however many of these that I have on here, would be their own separate slide deck that get linked outwards to, and they won't take as long to load. They won't be as media heavy because they are all separated. So, anyways, just an idea about it, something to think about and keep it in mind as you go through. Also on here, all right, Edu Blogs. If you want more of a blog type setup for them to document their portfolio piece, this was a pretty common one. Campus Press is a pretty good resource for things, and so that they've got this Edu blog support. that students can use. You can dig into it. You get a free version where you get 1 gigabyte of storage. So depending how much media that they have, it might be enough. A lot of frequently asked questions that you can dig into. It's pretty good resource, and it also will allow you to, there you go, use Google accounts with it. That's always a handy feature. Again, I'd say out of all of these top 4 would probably be the least common, but still notable to think about if you want to go that route or not. I'm going to save some time and dig into the Google Sites instead. So Google Sites, I've got a template up on here. And Sites, if you're not aware, is also a app in the waffle here that'll take you to where any sites that you've made will be down there. Or templates, you could use templates that are already made out there, or if your district has templates that you could use, they could be there as well. And you could submit, you could make a website and submit that as a template, and that could be for your whole district, and you could have them use it that way. That would be an easy way for students to access everything, potentially. There are some weird things depending how your organization of your school is set up, but that could work. If not, there is a workaround to give students copies that I'll show you here as we get going. So on this portfolio template for Google Sites, right, you can include, again, they can change their own picture. They could have their own drawing or comic or whatever, depending on their age and their privacy rights that you need to abide by. That all depends on the certain situations. Could have the About Me on the front page, and have them in the description. And then you could have, links from there to kind of a table of contents on here. You have the menu at the top that could have the table of contents and link things out that way. Depends how you want to structure it as well. Are you going to structure their digital portfolios by grade? Are you planning to have them be a school-wide initiative where they have, this covers multiple grade levels? Is it just one grade at a time because you're not sure if it's going to go year to year? Are you going to organize it by standard? Are you going to organize it by groupings? Like, hey, if this is 5 through 8 math, middle school math, and then they have evidence of topics that span those grade levels, because often enough, if they're introduced to a topic in 7th grade, then they see it again in 8th grade, and they see it again as freshmen, potentially in Algebra 1, then, you could have that just be your organization, and they can see their growth from the very beginning of it in 7th grade to 9th grade, and they can see how they've done throughout the years on that particular topic. All depends how you want to organize it. When you use Google Sites, right, it kind of goes by rows, right? It has different sections, and they're in rows. You see these dotted lines. That's what makes those rows. So if I wanted to add more, I would double click into the blank section at the bottom, and I could add text, files from my drive, upload anything or images, or I could embed. So again, if I wanted to add it in, I could drag this row below here. I could reorganize it all. All right, I could section it out and color it differently. Image for this area. That's how you can make your own headings and your different areas stand out, is with those colors and pieces. When you type in text, you can edit that text with quite a few fonts now. That's been a new thing that they've added, so you can change the fonts. You can change what's going on here for their type of text, and you can change the size of the font. It used to, again, only be whatever was here. It used to only be these options for your size, so that's come along nicely. There's a few other options here that you would see with editing text. So you can dig through that. You have lots of other options you can add to things with these buttons or these resources on the side. If I wanted to add an image, like if I see how this text takes up this whole row, if I wanted to add something next to it, I'd want to shrink that, and now I have all this area over here that I can double click and I can include. If I want to do a Google image search, if I wanted to include an image there next to it, I could do that. If I stretch it out this way and then shrink it down, it will kind of zoom in for you and limit what you see on the picture. But if I wanted to make it more full size again, right, you can play around with that. You can see it gives you like the little sections, kind of like the guides that you would see in Google Slides and such. So you can play around there and see. Now I still have space to add one more thing over here if I wanted to. But they go by these rows on here. That's one thing to point out so you don't get too frustrated. And if I try to stretch it out too far, it's going to, affect my other piece over here because they can't cross over there. I could try to make it below it, but now they become linked. So if I want to see that better, I have to kind of stretch things out. Take some playing around with, because there are still some things that become frustrating with trying to orient things where you want it. Pictures above or below or next to text and things like that. Definitely take some playing around. But you can organize it like that. You can have the students practice their graphic, layout piece on here with it a little bit more customizable. You can add pages. So if I want to add a new page, I would do that on here. If I wanted to add a new sub page, so if I add a new page and I call it Science 2, right? And then I can add it add a sub page to it. Okay. On here. And add a sub page to it that way by going to the 3-dot menu. Again, other things you can play around with on here as well. The properties, the name. Then if you wanted a separate domain, separate landing information for the URL, you could do it all that way. On here already, I have, kind of units set up separate in math. If I wanted to rearrange all of this, I could just click and drag and move things around. Like if I wanted ELA to be in math for whatever reason, I could do it that way. Take it out, drag it up, and it would change on here as well. All through there, right? If I wanted to hide a page, you can end up hiding them so they don't show up, but they are here. Like if you want to house things on a website, but you don't want it to show up when people are navigating the site, you could hide it from them that way. So if I go to one of these sub pages in math, there's kind of a template already set up. So if I have this, say, all right, unit 1, here's the topic, here's the I can statements, the learning targets, the standards, however you want to organize it. Again, it's up to you. And then similar to the Google Slides options through here, 3 pieces of evidence and an option for a reflection. But on here, instead of just having to replace an image by clicking on here like this, right, on here, you actually click the button, and it's a real button, and it will allow you to choose what media do you want to be there, and then an option down here for them to write about it, to describe it. So this could be a scanned picture, it could be a virtual piece already, it could be a video, it could be whatever you think would be useful for your classes for them to display their knowledge. Then, of course, a video reflection piece. That's what I've included on here as an example, because I think reflections are a really important part of digital portfolios. And then they can be included in here. And this is obviously organized by unit. So the expectation would be that every unit, there's this portfolio piece addressed and dealt with. All right. So, again, not going to dig into every little thing about it, just an overview for you, and we can dig into more if you want. You can reach out and we can set up a time for that. But if you wanted them to use this as a template, and for whatever reason, when you try to submit a template or it's not going well with your organization and it's too much of a hassle, with Google Docs and slides and everything like that, you can have the students make a copy, or through Google Classroom, you can have them make a copy for each student. Doesn't really work for Google Sites, but there is a workaround for it. So when you're editing it, when you have the edit URL, which is usually this long, nasty one, whereas when you publish it, it's got something more more logical here about it. So on this edit piece here, this P means page. So I'm on this, the site for this page is right here. So if I get rid of that, because this over here, this is the key for your website, and then this is the key for your particular part of the site, that the page that you're on that site. So if I get rid of that all the way to the end, all the way through the word edit, and this is it, right? If I just go to that, right, nothing's going to happen. It's going to be messed up because it's not the rest of this piece, and it's not published yet. But if I get rid of this and I type in template/preview and hit enter, now it will take me to an option where you have to click use template in order to activate it, to access it. So that will be a way that you can force students to use your website as a template and make their own copy in their own accounts. Then they just have to share that site with you somehow so you can monitor it and have access to it to see. But that's probably one of the easiest ways. You could take this link and paste it in Google Classroom, and then they all can just click the link and get this and be done. It's pretty quick and easy, in my opinion, compared to other workarounds of trying to have them use templates. It's even easier, I think, than trying to submit a template and getting it approved and having it on the site and having them go to this spot and find it. This is copy a link, paste it, have them click on it, and they get this option. Okay. So again, they would get to here, and then they can start customizing the website. Again, plan on building your template ahead of time, though, right? The more you can build ahead of time, the easier it's going to be, because you can't go to their sites and add in one little thing or an extra page or whatever afterwards. They have to be, they can do it. It can be done, but it would just be crazy for you to go try to do that yourself if something was forgotten. So as much pre-planning as possible when you're dealing with these. All right, Weebly, again, it's a website, so it's going to work similar ideas anyways. It just has its own little things to learn for it. So I'm not going to dig into that right now. The ideas there, I think, from Google Sites. Seesaw and Class Dojo, these are both linked in here. Those are their own accounts. Those are their own kind of closed resources that can help you curate student work. Again, usually for younger grades, I think it's really easy for younger grades to use those programs, because it's just kind of take a picture and it will automatically organize their work for them. But it's a really good way to get students started with the idea that their work is meaningful and it's going to be showcased, and this is a place to save it. I know I get packets upon packets of work that my own two children bring home throughout the school year and such, and I like looking through them and asking them about it. This is a similar way, just a digital version of that. Not that it all has to be digital, but it's just one way to incorporate that. Art teacher may not take pictures of all of their work and print them out and send them home with the students, but they can kind of take pictures and have it sent to their Seesaw or Class Dojo account. Either one. They both have a description about how to use it for digital portfolios. And you can see their work that way, so then you can get all of those options instead of just those paper packets that get sent home. So again, both of those are linked, so you can kind of go through that and see how to best use those programs for digital portfolios. They're both set up pretty nicely for it, to be honest, so hopefully that's pretty straightforward. And then also you've got the iPad option of the Notability here. So if you have iPads exclusively, and only that Notability would be one to check out and see. Again, if you have any questions about any of these resources or want to dig into them deeper, feel free to reach out and we can organize a time for that. All right, so a few minutes we have left. I don't want to take too long here. Just some elements that you might want to use in your portfolios, whatever program you use, whether it's Book Creator or Google Sites or Google Slides. Here's some ideas of things that you could use inside of them. VoiceThread is a cool option to be able to, and you could even use this as your own portfolio potentially, but I think it works really well as certain elements or certain artifacts in portfolios for students. But VoiceThread is a pretty cool one where students can talk about their work with a picture, as you can see here in the demo, and they can go through it that way, and they include that video on their website portfolio, whatever it may be. YouTube, of course, right? That one's not linked because it's YouTube. Using those videos or embedding them, I think become pretty effective for students. Flipgrid, similar to YouTube, VoiceThread, but Flipgrid is also becoming a pretty popular one for students. The nice thing with that too is that when you assign things on Flipgrid, you can customize the length, right? So if you only want them to have 2-minute videos at most for their reflection, and you can have questions in front of them as part of their assignment on Flipgrid, you can do it that way. But you can use that, and then they can export their videos and then put them into their digital portfolio. Again, or put them on YouTube and then into their digital portfolio, whether that's Google Slides or whether that's a website, whatever it is, they can use it that way. Screencastify is a great screen recording option. That's what I'm using to make this one right now, honestly. I have the paid version, which allows me some more time on it, but the free version gives you up to 5 minutes. So again, for student portfolio artifacts, 5 minutes might be enough for them to talk about whatever they need to. Especially if you're reviewing it. If you got 100 students and it's 5 minutes each, that and its maxed out time is going to be a lot. So 5 minutes isn't necessarily a bad thing on here, but it's a really cool option to make screen recordings and have students talk about their work or make their video reflections because it does have a camera on it. Really good option to include as part of their artifacts. Now, Google Slides, we talked about it as being the holder for the entire portfolio, but Google Slide could just be its own artifact too, and it could be embedded on a website instead. Or as we talked about, you could have one portfolio that is just a table of contents and it links out to separate Google Slides for each unit or each learning target. So you're using it more as an element instead of the whole housing of the digital portfolio. Google Slides are there. And then again, it's always fun to put your own characters, especially for students. So depending on your age and your school's policy and their privacy, Bitmoji is an option, of course. Obviously, that's the most popular one and most customizable. But there are other alternatives out there. They're not as good, honestly. They're really not. But they are out there that could be used potentially. My mouse is tweaking out. DoppelMe is one that's pretty straightforward and that you can just kind of dig into. Again, not nearly as customizable, but you can make some cool, fun characters on there. Avatars, really straightforward. Not nearly as customizable as Bitmoji, but another option where you don't really even need an account and it can randomly generate some amusing ones depending what students want to use. But they obviously don't have different poses. They don't have different outfits. It looks a little bit different. But again, that all depends on your school's privacy for students on Bitmoji and how much they can share through there, because it does collect some student data for sure. Okay, so yet again, thank you for joining us. That was quite a bit. There's a lot to dig into, I think. Take some time to look at each one of those resources and see what best fits your needs and your thoughts for your own students and their digital portfolios. Hopefully, again, it inspires some sort of creativity and some sort of thinking on your part, so you can begin to feel comfortable getting started to it. And just like everything else, usually you feel better about it once you dig into it and experience it yourselves. But hopefully this was a good enough starting point and jumping off point for you to dig into it. As always, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. Email is on here. The link to these slides will be included in the description of the video. You can find our other recordings for PD from all the ambassadors on these links over here. And again, submit the form for contact hours. You'll get a link at the end to print your certificate for this. Thank you all. We'll see you next time.